Alright, today we're going to be comparing the Omen 16 with the Ryzen 5800H and the Radeon 6600M with the Legion 5 Pro, the Ryzen 5800H, and the RTX 3070. Now in a perfect world, this would be the Legion 5 Pro with the RTX 3060, but it's not a perfect world. It's 2021, the year of the shortages. Another big difference between my two units here is the screens. The Legion 5 Pro has a Quad HD 16:10 screen, while the Omen is 1080p 16:9. The Omen 16 will come with a Quad HD option, but it's not available yet. Alright, taking a look at our ports, the big difference here is the Omen has most of its ports on the left-hand side, and the Legion 5 Pro has most of its ports on the rear, and the Omen 15 has a full-size SD card reader and a main display port, where the Omen has some extra USB ports instead. Big thing I dislike about the Omen's ports is they have all of the display port outs on the left side, which doesn't make sense since most people are right-handed, and so you're going to be running your cable from, if you're using an external monitor, it would more naturally go into the right side of the laptop, but I guess lefties unite. Looking at the size of our laptops, the Legion 5 Pro is slightly thicker. Our dimensions are pretty similar. The Omen 16 is slightly wider, while the Legion 5 Pro is just a little longer, and the TIE Fighter's there for scale. Taking a look at our weights, the Legion 5 Pro is 2,580 grams. We add on its massive charger, and we come up to 3,640 grams. The Omen 16 is 2,310 grams. If we add on his charger, we're up to 3,040 grams. Now my Legion 5 Pro supports USB-C powered delivery, so you can use that to drop some weight. It doesn't work on my Omen 16, and it's unclear if it'll work on other AMD models, but it should definitely work on the Intel models as they have Thunderbolt 4. Taking a look at the design of both of the laptops, obviously looks is something that's very subjective. I prefer the holographic Omen diamond versus the glowing Legion symbol. I think the thin bezel on the Legion 5 Pro definitely looks a lot better than that thick one on the Omen. And the Legion has hands down the most mediocre RGB keyboard I've ever seen. At that point, it might as well just be a normal backlit keyboard. Speaking of the keyboards, the Omen 15s doesn't have a number pad, but that allows it to be nice and spacious. It's hand down my favorite keyboard I've ever used. They both have a good tactile response, but the Legion 5 Pro's keyboard feels crowded even compared to other keyboards I've used. But I do appreciate the FNQ shortcuts to switch between your performance modes. Taking a look at build quality, the Legion and the Omen both have an aluminum keyboard deck and a plastic base. The Omen has a plastic lid, while the Legion 5 Pro's is metal. The Omen does have a little bit of hinge wobble. I wouldn't really say significantly worse than any other laptop I've looked at, but the 5 Pro is hands down, in general, at least feels like the sturdiest gaming laptop I've tested. Now, the Legion 5 Pro is 16:10, and the Omen is 16:9, which is the more traditional screen resolution. I prefer the 16:10 for general everyday use and tasks, but just be aware it will give you thin black bars at the top and bottom when watching most media. Looking at the built-in software, the Lenovo Vantage and Omen Command Center, the Lenovo Vantage gives you a ton of options, most of which I probably won't ever use. But most importantly, it does have a mux switch that will allow you to boost your performance in games while using the laptop screen. A major feature the Omen Command Center has that the Legion is lacking is the ability to some custom control over your fans. And as I talked about in my full review, I guess my Omen just has a gremlin in it or something, because no matter what I've done, the Command Center constantly crashes. And there's several reviews on Best Buy's website, and other people don't mention this as being a problem. Taking a look at the thermals and fan noise, in performance mode, the Legion 5 Pro will stay in the low, sometimes approaching the mid-90s and around 52, 53 decibels. If we switch it to balance, there's very minimal change. Fan noise stayed pretty much the same in my testing. If you switch to quiet mode, it severely caps the performance of the laptop, but as a result, it runs extremely cool, and you get almost no fan noise. It's not audible over the background noise in my room. You will probably have to drop down from ultra to high settings, depending on what game you're playing. If you place the Legion 5 Pro on a cooling pad in performance mode, your temperatures drop to mid to upper 80s, and your fan noise drops down to about 50 decibels. In performance mode, the Omen's fans are loud, hitting close to their max, and you're still only seeing temperatures in the low to mid 90s. You can switch it to balance mode, and your fan noise will drop to about 51 decibels. You only take a small hit to performance. It achieves this by letting your CPU get even closer to that throttle limit, 100 degrees, but I still never did actually see it throttle. I tested playing like this for a while. I found the best of both worlds to be with a cooling pad in performance mode. You got that same noise and temperatures in the mid 90s. If you really want to cool it down, you're worried about temperatures, you can turn the fans up and put it on a cooling pad and get to the mid 80s. The speakers are above average on both. And finally, taking a look at our performance benchmarks. While we have different tiers of graphics cards in the two units we're comparing, we have the exact same Ryzen 5800H processor. In Cinebench R23, the Legion 5 Pro is slightly ahead in the multi-core score. The other processor benchmark I normally use, Geekbench, we see a huge difference in scores. And my best guess is this must be affected by the RAM in the Legion 5 Pro. It's definitely one I'll have to retest after upgrading the RAM. The only game we're going to take a look at for our comparison's sake here is Far Cry 5. If you want to see how these perform in a lot more games, you can check my other videos, or there'll be a link down to my Google spreadsheet that has all of my benchmarks in it. So the Omen 16 on performance mode in Far Cry 5 at 1920 by 1080, we get about 97 frames per second. The Legion 5 Pro at 1920 by 1080, we only get around 100 frames per second. And this is because of the RAM that comes with it, really hinders it, especially at 1920 by 1080. In fact, if we take a look at the Omen 16 hooked to an external monitor, giving it the same benefit of a mux switch that the Legion 5 Pro has, we can see it actually outperforms it at 1920 by 1080, getting 106 frames per second. If we take a look at the Legion 5 Pro at its native Quad HD resolution, we get 93 frames per second. Now, my Omen 16 doesn't have the Quad HD screen, but a 1440p screen will be available. And to get an idea of how that looks, I hooked it up to my 4K TV and set it to 1440p, and we averaged 85 frames per second. Without the mux switch, you can expect a result if you're using the screen in the laptop about 5 to 10% lower than that. So still very playable on ultra settings. Taking a look at pricing, if we configure a regular Omen 15 and a regular Legion 5 with pretty much identical specs on their respective manufacturers' websites, the base price is around the same. And this price is never what you should pay. Manufacturers on most of their websites, they're always constantly running 20% or more sales, and there's a lot of coupon codes out there. Taking a look at the only place you can actually buy an Omen 16 in the world, other than maybe eBay as far as I know right now, Best Buy, it is $1,480. I got it for 10% off of that, so I paid about $1,350. And to get a Legion 5 Pro with an RTX 3060 from Lenovo, it's $1,750. They sell it on Walmart's website for $1,550, but it goes out of stock within about 5 minutes of coming in stock normally. I think bots are buying them all up. And if you find the Walmart at the end of a rainbow, Some of them do carry it in store for $1,400 with the RTX 3070, but it's very hard to find right now. Before starting, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, me. So if it was helpful for you, please subscribe. It helps me out a lot, and it means a lot to me. I thought that these were both good laptops. I wish that the Legion had the Omen 16's keyboard and custom fan control. I wish that my Omen 16 supported powered USB-C power delivery, and that it had a little bit more thermal headroom. It never throttled, but at 1440p gaming it comes close, and I'll have a whole video on that soon. At the end of the day, for me, and I think probably most people, it just comes down to price and value. Since I only paid $50 more for the Legion, it's kind of a no-brainer, even with the cost of upgrading the RAM in this. If it was a difference of, say, $200, then I would probably consider the Omen 16 the keeper. Thanks so much for watching, and if you have any questions, just make sure you put them down in the comments below.